It is a truth universally acknowledged that a knitting-obsessed lady in possession of a good knitting machine must be in want of a sweater that resembles the costumes from her favorite movie, Pride and Prejudice. I was 13 when the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice came out, and let me tell you, it was a life-altering experience for me. It started my love of historical fashion and especially Elizabeth Bennet's costumes. Very formative for my early teen years. I have to say that nothing makes me feel more me than when I dress to these like historical-ish vibes. But this isn't something that I would necessarily wear to the grocery store, let's say. Some people are comfortable doing that. It's just something that I'm not super comfortable doing. And so instead, I was thinking that today I could kind of lead into some sort of history bounding and Elizabeth Bennet's wardrobe from 2005's version of Pride and Prejudice and my knitting passion and see if I can't knit them all together into a beautiful result and feel super comfortable and most like myself no matter the occasion. So let's go to some mood board and design inspirations that I've put together and kind of discuss where I was thinking we would go with this sweater design. Okay, so we're over at my desk. So as you can see, we have some stills from the movie of Elizabeth Bennet in her different dresses. And I've kind of broken it down into what I would call like her earthy greens and browns, as well as some of more like the soft white shades. I love these creamy soft whites, but I know me, and if I'm wearing white things, I'm gonna make them messy instantaneously, which is why if I wear something white, I tend to wear something solid and colorful on top of it. I'm leaning more towards these greens and browns. And the dress that always has very much stuck out to me is this brown one with the ruffle. Greens are my love. I love greens. But the thing is that I have a skirt that I want to wear this sweater with, and that skirt is already green. And the green of the sweater, like the yarn that I could use, it clashes. It clashes too much. It's close but not close enough. So I don't think that green is gonna work. I would love to make another green sweater. I don't do much in browns, so I think it would be really interesting for me to do something slightly different, but that still very much works with like 90% of my wardrobe, and that would be a brown sweater. Looking at the design details, what I was thinking of creating like a short sweater based on this longer dress idea. I don't know if I want a poofier sleeve or a tighter fitting sleeve. The tighter fitting sleeve would match more with the original pattern, but I kind of like the poofier sleeve. And if I'm wearing a wool sweater in the summertime, I don't know that I want a tight fitting 3/4 length sleeve. I feel like I'm gonna be burning. I think my best bet is to sew this together rather than to knit the pieces to size and sew it together. But really quickly, if you've been enjoying looking at the mood board, then I'd like to introduce you to the sponsor for today's video, Milanote. I've actually been using Milanote for a long time at this point to plan out a lot of the different projects that I have going on all at the same time, which is why I'm really excited to share them with you all. The way I think of Milanote is that it is my digital corkboard where I get to organize all of the different things that I use as my inspiration. It's the one place where I can take my notes, collect my research, and organize my projects visually. I'm sure you all know that I love to have my projects organized visually, or else I forget basically that they exist. And Milanote is that, just for my digital project plans, designs, and ideas. I can wrangle all my different scattered creative thoughts, photos, notes, tasks, memos, and sketches into a coherent project. As you saw today, I'm using it to map out my designs for the sweater project. I can drag and drop all the references exactly into place with different notes that are properly attached to the pictures and movie stills. The color swatches, it allows me to color drop pick it from these stills, so it is absolutely essential for me because I'm honestly really bad at picking out color references. From mapping out all of Elizabeth's dresses, I was able to see some common themes and I could map out the design that I was looking to create. I added my admittedly kind of scribbled sketch here as my personal idea for what I wanted the sweater design to look like. I pinned my notes and I wanted to remember exactly what sewing pattern I had used because I have so many downloaded on my computer. It's hard to find them again sometimes, so it's nice to have this as a reference. And what's really helpful for me is I created this tracker and project plan with a to-do list that is very satisfying when I can check them off as I go through my to-do list. When I tackle ambitious projects like this, I tend to get really overwhelmed and not really know what I should do next or what step I should tackle. And so I find it really calming to have a set of directions or lists to come back to and know exactly what I should do next. If you want to try it out yourself, there are over 100 templates ready to go. I grabbed the mood board template to refine my color palette, but there are also many crafting templates that I think you might find useful as well. So whether you're plotting a novel, designing interiors, or mood boarding your own own fiber arts masterpiece, Milanote has a board that fits for you. As an added bonus, collaboration is easy. I was back and forth on whether I should do cap sleeve or 3/4 length sleeve. So I called in reinforcements to help get feedback on which option would be best for this design, and there are no long email chains or messages back and forth. Milanote is completely free to try with no time limit to sign up. So if you would like to try it out for yourself, feel free to check out the link in my description. Thank you again so much to Milanote for neatly stitching my absolutely chaotic brain together and for making videos like this possible. Let's go forward and see if we can't start making some mock-ups with cloth before we start cutting into some precious knitted materials. I've been working all evening on a mock-up to have, so I have pattern pieces to follow for the knit version, and I really like this first iteration. It's kind of more like a bra, which is kind of what a top of a true Regency outfit should be. If you look at my waist, I have a very, very long torso, so my natural waist is way down here. I think of Keira Knightley's dresses. Her waists are slightly lower, and I think that was done on purpose. So I think and it's also how I feel a little bit more comfortable personally, is just with dropping this just a hint down. I was fighting making another mock-up because I don't like making mock-ups, but I think it's important to make a mock-up. So let me add length, let me try out a sleeve, and let me add a little bit of the skirting. The skirting's just kind of 2 blocks of fabric. I don't think I need to try out the skirting, but the sleeve, I need to do at least one sleeve. So I really don't like doing sleeves, especially puff sleeves. Why did I choose a puff sleeve? The lighting is horrendous because I put on some really bright lights so I can see better what I'm doing, but hopefully you can see this mock-up a little bit better too, and I love it. So it's about 1 3/4 inches longer across the torso. This makes me incredibly happy. Here's what the back looks like. I should set in at least 1 sleeve. So I think the next thing that you'll see from me is a mocked up puff sleeve. It's quite voluminous, but I wonder if it's made out of knitted material, if it will drape slightly differently. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with all my pieces. We will tackle the rest of this when I'm a little bit more fresh-faced in the morning, and I will see you then. Have a good night, everyone. So now that our mock-ups are done, so that I knew what the sweater pattern pieces looked like, I needed to get the yarn from the sweater that I was unraveling. So that was the brown sweater that I had laid out before, and I am using my unraveling machine to unravel it. First, I put the sweater into panels, and then, like I said, I use my unraveling machine to unravel it back into its yarn state. This is a merino wool sweater that also had a second yarn line of nylon put together with it, which I have to unravel manually next to it. I washed it to kind of let it relax the stitches a little bit, the stitch memory, and I laid it out to dry in the sun. The sprinklers did turn on, so I had to go run out and grab them really quickly to make sure they don't get too wet, and then I had my yarn. Good morning. I'm so excited. We have the yarn wound up into balls. It is so soft. So this is merino wool. What we need to do now is a gauge swatch. I'm very happy with the pattern that we put together yesterday. I have the pattern pieces now. Now I want to do a gauge swatch. I think I'm going to use a technique, which is the sewing machine, very similar to what I did on my Regency dress that I did entirely out of knitting, an entire Regency dress out of knitting. But I'm going to use something that I learned from that to hopefully do better this time. And that is, I am going to use some interfacing. Interfacing? Yes. Water-soluble interfacing. I'm going to iron on and sew through to stabilize the fabric before it goes through my sewing machine so that I am not dealing with shifting knit fabric that is going to shift out of place and shift out of shape before I have any chance to sew it together. I think it's best to do that on the gauge swatch and test it on the gauge swatch. Ideally, I would also use my overlocker for this. I do have an overlocker, but I don't know if I did move a few months ago, and some of the things are still not fully unpacked, and my overlocker is still in some of those boxes. I don't know 100% where that is, and I also wouldn't have the right thread color for it yet. So I think I'm just going to do it on my regular sewing machine, and I'm going to attempt to do it in a zigzag stitch to allow some elasticity still for my stitches. I didn't mean to, but I completely forgot to film any of that gauge swatch making. We were at a gauge 3. I could have ironed this a lot more regularly to the interfacing. For the test of cutting it, with the interfacing to see if the interfacing will help, sewing it and then dissolving the interfacing and see what happens. So, well, that was kind of beautiful, wasn't it? Let me go to my sewing machine. Okay, that took a second to get everything dialed in. I did a lot of practice zigzags. They aren't sewn together at all those points. I was just trying to get everything set and dialed in on my machine. There's only one line that stitches this together. Let's see if the interfacing dissolves. Okay, I had this worry like the moment that I ran this under the water. I should have tested this. I should have tested all of this. Why did I test these things when I get them? Oh my goodness, I didn't read the label close enough. It's not water soluble. I am so silly. Oh, I feel so silly for not testing. Why didn't I look more closely? Can I tear it away? Right, I'm gonna knit another gauge swatch. Iron on the fusible interfacing. Cut out the gauge swatch. Do the sewing again. This time do not soak it in water because it is not water soluble. And see if I can just tear away the interfacing. That's okay. Why don't we jump forward and I can deal with the mess and we'll jump forward to hopefully a solution. Cross your fingers for me that the next thing that you see is that it worked. Okay, so another gauge swatch. It maybe looks a little rougher around the edges, but it is sewn together properly. I can get off the bulk of the interfacing from the pieces. Some of the interfacing will remain in the seam. That'll be okay. It makes a huge difference when I do use the interfacing to do the sewing. Now on to what am I going to do to create the panels basically that I'm going to sew into my pieces. And I think the best way that I'm going to do that is, let me show you, hold on. How can I show this best? Here are the 3 front pieces. I think what I should do is I'm gonna lay this out and determine the size that I need in order to cut this out from like the smallest piece of fabric that I can, with the grain going the way that I want the grain to go. Do I have enough yarn for this even? Oh gosh, I'm so nervous about all of this, but I'm excited. I feel like we're close to maybe having this work, but also, is it gonna work? I don't know. So here you can see the 3 bodice pieces laid out. I think this is like the tightest configuration that I can get. Oh my gosh, I just thought of something. Because I was gonna knit it just this wide, and now I realize like I actually have to cut this on the fold. So I actually need it twice as wide. So I need it 18 inches wide, but I actually need it twice as wide to cut it on the fold. And 18 inches wide is 130 stitches wide. And twice that, I don't have that on my knitting machine. Oh no. Okay, wait. Oh, I am so glad I stopped to explain this to you because I would not have caught that before I put it on my machine and I would have been, I think I would have cried. Okay, hold on. Back to the drawing board. So here's the new configuration of how I'm gonna lay this out onto my folded knitted fabric to cut out my pieces. Okay, so this is now going to be a little over 12 inches wide that I need for this, which based on the gauge means that I need to cast on 180 stitches, and I'm gonna knit for 408 rows. I am seriously concerned now that I do not have enough yarn. That is a lot of fabric, but when I look at it like this, it doesn't really seem like that much fabric is needed. I'm wondering if I have one more brown sweater. I'm wondering if I should unravel that in order to double up that fabric to use it for this sweater, or, you know, I'm going to be really, really sad if I run out of yarn. So, I guess I am back to my unraveller. Another emergency conference, really quick. I grabbed the other sweater. I was about to start undoing the sleeve seams here to unravel this, but I had a quick thought of laying out the pattern pieces to see if I had enough yarn here, together with the other sweater I had partially unraveled, to make this. And all of a sudden, as I saw these pieces laid out, I had a thought. The current plan has me unraveling a sweater, knitting panels, cutting panels, and then sewing them back together to create a new sweater. But I already have knit panels in this sweater if I just undo the seams at the sides. Why am I unraveling them and reknitting them into panels, if the panels, as I'm putting these pattern pieces onto them, the panels are big enough as is. That saves me so much work and so much potential of things going sideways. You know what I mean? Like I'm removing a step of unraveling, I'm removing a step of reknitting. Could I have maybe thought of this beforehand? I mean, I've already unraveled an entire sweater. Would have been nice to think of this last night, but I didn't, and that's okay. Like, this is all stuff that we're discovering along the way, and this is kind of fun. This is a very different way of constructing a sweater. I wouldn't usually sew a sweater, so this is unique. This is different, and I'm sewing a sweater from a sweater that exists. Oh, also, I think this is another point of discussion, which is the fact that, like, I thrifted this sweater. This is a perfectly wearable sweater that someone else could have worn, and I am destroying a sweater that someone else could have used in its current state. For me, when I go through these thrift stores to find the sweaters that I use for unraveling, I like never buy out an entire stock, first of all. I think would be incredibly rude for me to do. So I never go to like the sizes that are harder to find in thrift stores and buy out the entire stock. I feel like that would be very, very unreasonable and would not be the spirit of what I'm trying to do. So I take maybe like a sweater or two at a time. I used to go like regularly, like weekly, and grab a few sweaters here and there. And also, because I would go so frequently, I would see which sweaters weren't being taken. Like, I would see the sweaters that would just hang around, and you could argue that, especially at like the tail ends of sizes, that those wouldn't move as frequently. But again, I went to these thrift stores a lot, and so I would see the turnover of sweaters, and I would see which ones wouldn't be there anymore, and I would see which ones would stick around for a long time, and then those are the ones that I would tend to choose from. And again, I wouldn't choose all of them. I'm not saying that this is a reasonable thing for everyone to do. Like, I think the sweater unraveling saves you money in one sense, but it also is a really, really big investment of time, and time isn't free. Time is finite. We all only have so much time. So it is also something that you have to decide whether or not you want to invest in making something like cost less money, but then it costs more of your time that you could be investing in a different way. So you have to decide if that is something worthwhile to you. I will say that I'm working on something in the background. It's going to take me a long, 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 long time, even if I make it anywhere in the process, is finding a way to make some of this like reusable or recycled wool more readily available to people who want to use recycled or reusable wool, especially on scales that don't require you to do so much of the work and legwork, and especially on not like removing pieces of clothing that could be reworn from the ecosystem of clothing kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So I have something that's going on in the background, but this is what I'm doing now. Those are my thoughts on it. Let me know if you have any different thoughts or different ideas or different takes on what I'm doing, but just to let you know, like, that's my thought process around it. Okay, let me create panels from this sweater, and then let me hold up my different pieces against those panels and see where we might need to squeeze a little bit extra out of it, what we might need to unravel and reknit versus what might be enough with it as it is. Okay, here we go. I have laid out all the pieces on the bits of my filleted sweater, and I think I'm even gonna get a sleeve out of the sleeve. So I think the next thing that we should do is we should iron on the interfacing to all these pieces so that we are ready to go to start cutting them out. I'm so excited. This looks really good. All right, it's floor time. I have ironed on all of the interfacing. Let's see how this goes. Wow, that looks so cool. Oh, let me iron that one more time. Cut out. I'm gonna be honest, my nerves right now are way up here, so I'm just gonna take a deep breath and put on something nice and relaxing and cut everything out, and I will see you when that's done. And we'll reconvene when it's day stitching time. I've stay stitched everything. I'm pretty pleased with how it's turned out so far. Cross your fingers for me. I keep on feeling like I'm jinxing myself every time I say that. I'm liking how something is turning out. Starting to tack some things together to sew them, and I'm gonna sew nice and slowly as I go here to try to minimize errors. Sewn together with the interfacing on. I very much want to do a try on, so I think I'm going to take the interfacing off. Can you tell? I'm nervous. I'm not going to rip at it any further, but here's the front. And I will remove as much as I can, but after some more stitching happens. I probably shouldn't have removed as much as I did, to be honest, but that's okay. Hi! You go! Do you like it? We kind of matched, Nutella and I, with the browns. What do you think? Cuddle break time? Okay, first try on. Love it so much. I really, really like it. I'm trying to decide exactly what to do next. So we have a few things to do. We have sleeves to attach. We have this front bit to fold over twice and create like a channel for elastic or some sort of tie to go through and tie this tight and kind of ruffle it together. We have gathering at the front to do and the bottom skirting to add. And to be honest, I'm a little stumped as to what, not stumped, I'm just like, I don't know which one to do next. I don't think any one is better than the other. I'm gonna do the most annoying thing first, which is gonna be this bit, and I'm going to take off the interfacing because I put it on wonky. The only way to fix it is to take off the wonkiness. Wonky interfacing is off. I think I'm gonna have to stand in front of the mirror with this piece and some pins and see if I can pin this together. And yeah, this piece is gonna be annoying to try to get on, so let's start with the most annoying thing, see if I can get that worked out. Okay, I have attached the bottom little flaps, I don't know, the bottom extensions that would be the skirt. And I've also done the elasticity, put in an elastic around the top. I've done some stitching to fold over the neckline as well. Press some seams, hold on. Here, you can see that little flap at the bottom. I'm not super happy with it. Like, I like it from here, from there up. But there's something about where that is down that I don't love. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what it is about that I'm not loving. I'm gonna keep going though. The last thing that this top needs are the sleeves. So yeah, when I'm looking at the video now, I'm like, ooh, I really like how this looks. But if I get up anymore and you see like the skirt part, hi, my love. You just, you heard me talking. You wanted to join. Hi, my love. You saying it's cuddle break time? Okay, I think Nutella says cuddle break time first, and I'm more than happy to oblige. Yeah. How sweet are you? You look so sleepy, girly. Were you just taking a nice nap? Yeah. Woo, careful. Oh, is that a nice soft sweater? Yeah. Okay. Oops. The sleeves are attached now, and I found this little bit of lace. I was back and forth on exactly how to do like the neck ruffle. I have something in mind, but I'm also, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I'm not like 100% sold on this sweater, so I didn't want to spend so much time on a neck ruffle if I'm not 100% sure about what I want to do with it. So I'd rather do like a tack on neck ruffle or like neckline lace detail, and then have it be something that I can undo later. I'm gonna go ahead and get ready, and then I think we're gonna do a final reveal of this sweater top. Here we go. Let's transform myself, hopefully completely, and do a final look of this 2005 Elizabeth Bennet Pride and Prejudice inspired sweater look. So there we have it. I don't want to say my take on a sweater inspired by the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice and Elizabeth Bennet's costumes in that. I feel like I should say it's my first take. Also, I'm so sorry if I'm sniffly. I'm going to do my best to not sniffle so much, but I am in a field full of pollen. I am really happy with this sweater from the bust gathering up. What I really love are the seams at the back. I love those back seams, and to be honest, it has my brain kind of turning a little bit to see if there's something that you can do in a hand knitting pattern to replicate those seams on the back of a hand knit sweater. I don't think I ever set out, or I hope I didn't say that I set out to knit a Pride and Prejudice sweater. I hope I just said that I wanted to make a sweater inspired by the 2005 movie of Pride and Prejudice, because if we're being fully honest here, I didn't knit a single stitch of this sweater. I just cut out pattern pieces from this and sewed it by machine. I like the little bit of like lace detailing, but you can barely see it. Number one, I'm so pale. I am like beyond pale. So the white, the like tiny inkling of white, I feel like doesn't really even register against my skin. I want more of that like true ruffle, and I didn't put as much energy into it, like I said, because I wasn't as fully happy with this sweater as I wanted to be, and I knew that adding that ruff in the full way of how I want the ruff to look would take a lot of time, and I wouldn't want to spend that time on something that I'm not as happy, like I'm not as happy with like this half of the outfit. So I didn't want to spend hours and hours of work up here when I had some trim that I could add, but I think I would be even happier if I had that ruff. Very happy with the sleeves. I love the little poof sleeve. It's hot today, but it is nice to have my arms free. So, and not to have something like super tight to my arms up here. So I do like the decision of the short puffy sleeves. Thank you so much for watching. If you like videos like this, I will leave something that you might enjoy right up here. So I'll either see you there or I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting me. Maybe consider subscribing if you want to watch more things like this. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye. I might go prance in this field a little bit longer. Now that I have the courage to be here, I mean, it's gorgeous, so might as well enjoy my time while I'm here, right?